You've been lied to about dessert. Not by some faceless corporation, not by a fad diet book, but by the very labels designed to protect you. The truth is sitting in a medical journal published by the Cleveland Clinic, and it stopped cardiologists cold. A study of over 4,000 people, released in 2023, found something terrifying. People with high levels of a common sweetener in their blood were nearly twice as likely to suffer a heart attack or stroke over the next 3 years. Twice. And here is the part that should make your stomach turn. That sweetener isn't in a can of soda or a candy bar. It's in the desserts marketed specifically to you. The ones labeled diabetic friendly. The ones you reach for at night because you think you're doing the right thing.
Now you need to hear this. That study showed an association, not a direct cause. I am not here to fearmonger, but when you're over 60 and your heart has some miles on it, a red flag that big is not something you ignore. So, I'm going to make you a different promise. By the end of this, you will have 5 desserts that are actually gentle on your blood sugar, and you'll know the 3 that are spiking your numbers, including the worst one, the one most people think is the healthiest choice on the shelf. If you've ever wanted to enjoy a sweet treat without the worry, stay with me. This changes everything. Before we dive in, I want you to think about your own routine. What is your go-to dessert after dinner? Is it a cookie? A bowl of ice cream? Or maybe you've switched to those sugar-free packets? Just drop 1 or 2 words in the comments. It helps me understand what we're all dealing with.
Now, let's clear up a massive misunderstanding right now. Fear makes people miserable, and misery often leads to worse eating habits, not better. The problem isn't that you ate something sweet. The problem is what you ate and how it was built. Here is the biological truth of aging. After 60, your body clears glucose from the bloodstream slower than it used to. That slice of cake a 30-year-old burns off in an hour can leave your blood sugar hanging high for much longer. The cake hasn't changed. Your body has. Think of your metabolism like a faucet. It used to run fast, a strong stream. Now the flow is a trickle. It's not a flaw, it's biology. But biology also gives us the cheat code.
So, can you still enjoy dessert?
Yes, as long as you understand the 3 levers that tame any sweet thing you eat. Think of them as the brakes on your blood sugar. The first is fiber. The second is protein. The third is healthy fat. A dessert that's just refined flour and sugar has no brakes. It floors the accelerator. But add one of these, and the sugar arrives gently, like a soft wave instead of a tsunami. Every dessert I'm about to give you is built around these brakes. Once you see how they work, you will never look at your plate the same way. Let's start with the most powerful one. The one I would build an entire diet around because it has more solid science behind it than almost any food you can name. Plain Greek yogurt with a handful of berries. Start with the yogurt. In March of 2024, the FDA did something it rarely does. It allowed a qualified health claim stating that eating yogurt regularly, at least 2 cups a week, may lower the risk of type 2 diabetes. That's a federal agency, not a marketing slogan. Why? It's loaded with protein to slow digestion and probiotics to support your gut. Now, add the berries. The VA system published research on men averaging 67 years old. They found that roughly a cup of blueberries a day for 8 weeks improved both their HbA1c and their fructosamine. That's 2 different windows into your long-term blood sugar control.
Here's where people trip. You want plain Greek yogurt. The fruit-flavored cup sitting next to it can carry as much sugar as a candy bar. Buy it plain. You bring the sweetness yourself with fresh or frozen berries. In the summer, freeze the mixture into popsicles. I once spoke to a man, newly diagnosed, terrified. He threw out every sweet thing in the house. He told his daughter he felt like he was being punished for getting old. He lived stripped down and miserable for months. What pulled him back wasn't a complicated plan. It was one small thing he could keep. Yogurt and blueberries every night in the same chipped bowl he refused to replace. Sometimes the simplest habit is the one that lasts. Number 2 is a miracle of texture. Chia pudding. Here's the science you can almost watch happen. When chia seeds hit liquid, they swell into a soft gel. That gel physically slows down digestion. It's like a sponge sitting in your stomach, soaking up the rush of sugar and letting it out slowly. A research group led by Dr. Vladimir Vuksan at the University of Toronto has studied this for years. Their work showed eating chia before or with a meal lowered the blood sugar spike by 20 to 30%. In one trial, baking chia into a cookie cut the total glucose load by 22 to 30%. That's a measurable difference from a seed you can buy at any grocery store.
Making it couldn't be simpler. Stir chia into unsweetened almond milk. Let it sit in the fridge overnight. By morning, you have pudding. It works as a breakfast or a dessert. But I have to stop you here. Chia is rich in omega-3s, which can thin your blood. If you are on a blood thinner like warfarin, don't panic. Just ask your doctor before you make it a daily habit. A quick conversation now saves you trouble later. Number 3 is going to shock you. Dark chocolate with strawberries. 70% cacao or higher. I doubt anyone ever told you chocolate could earn a place on a list like this. The reason sits in the cacao itself. It's rich in compounds called flavonols, especially epicatechin. In December of 2024, Harvard researchers published work in the BMJ showing that people who ate dark chocolate had a lower risk of type 2 diabetes. The theory is that these flavonols improve the lining of your blood vessels and slow glucose absorption. Now, let me be straight with you. Dark chocolate is still candy. It still has sugar and calories. It is not medicine. It's a better choice than milk chocolate, not a free pass. A sensible portion is about 1 ounce. A square or 2 savored slowly. Now, pair it with strawberries. The natural tartness of the fruit balances the bitter chocolate. The berries add fiber that softens the sugar impact. Strawberries are low on the glycemic scale. It feels like an indulgence, but it behaves like one of the smartest things on this list. Number 4 is the one that fills the house with a scent of comfort. A baked apple with cinnamon and walnuts. Let's break down why this works, piece by piece. Start with the apple. A whole apple, not juice, not sauce. Whole fruit is linked to a lower risk of type 2 diabetes because the fiber is packaged right alongside the sugar. Then, the walnuts. A meta-analysis on tree nuts showed that eating them regularly improved both HbA1c and fasting blood sugar. They aren't just there for crunch. The healthy fat is one of those breaks I told you about. Finally, cinnamon. You've heard it called a miracle. The effect is real, but modest. It's a nice nudge, not a cure. Keep the skin on the apple. That's where the fiber and polyphenols live. Core it, bake it with cinnamon until soft, and scatter walnuts on top. It feels like a reward and behaves like a steadying hand on your blood sugar. Number 5 is the one you've been waiting for. It answers the question people are almost afraid to ask out loud. Can I still have ice cream? In a sense, yes. Welcome to banana nice cream. Here's the trick, and it's all about ripeness. A banana that is still a little green carries more resistant starch, a starch your body doesn't break down into sugar as easily. Back in 1992, a researcher measured this in people with type 2 diabetes. A slightly underripe banana had a glycemic index of around 43. A fully ripe, spotty one shot up to 74. Same fruit, completely different effect, decided entirely by ripeness. Now, I'm going to be honest. This is the sweetest item on the list. A banana has more sugar than anything else I've recommended. So, this one comes with rules. Keep the portions small. Blend in a handful of berries to pull the sugar load down. And eat it after a proper meal, not on its own. The method is simple. Slice a slightly green banana, freeze the pieces, then blend until thick and creamy. No machine, no added sugar. But here's where the true secret lies. I mentioned eating the banana after a meal. And I need to pause here because this next part might be the most useful thing in the entire video. When you eat, your dessert matters just as much as what it is. Even the best dessert on this list, even plain yogurt with berries, can spike your blood sugar if you eat it on an empty stomach. Drop sugar into an empty tank, and it races straight into your blood with nothing to slow it down. But researchers at Weill Cornell, publishing in Diabetes Care, changed that. They had people eat their carbohydrates after their protein and vegetables instead of first. The result? The blood sugar spike dropped by up to 73% lower. Same food, same calories. Only the order changed. Here's the rule, simple enough to remember at any age. Never eat something sweet when your stomach is empty. Never treat dessert as a standalone late-night snack. Eat it right after a meal that had protein and vegetables. This is the secret to protecting your blood sugar. Let me ask you something. Do you usually have your dessert right after dinner, or do you save it as a separate little treat later in the evening? Type it down in the comments. I have a feeling the answers are going to be split. So, that's the safe side of the plate. Now, let's turn it around. Knowing what to enjoy is only half the picture. You also need to know what's working against you. Some of these are going to look a lot more innocent than they are. Let's count down 3 of the worst offenders, and the order matters because they get more surprising as we go. Number 3. Store-bought cake and frosted cupcakes. This one feels obvious, but I want you to understand the double hit. It's worse than just sugary. The cake itself is built on refined white flour, which acts almost like straight sugar in your body. It breaks down fast and sends blood sugar climbing. Then comes the frosting. Thick icing piles on more sugar and saturated fat. After 60, that combination is a 1-2 punch you don't want regularly. I am not saying you can't celebrate a birthday. A slice at a real occasion is part of life. The trouble starts when a special day treat quietly becomes a Tuesday night habit. Number 2 takes that problem and makes it worse by adding one more issue. Donuts and deep-fried sweets. You start with refined flour, so the sugar spike is there. Then you drop it in hot oil. Now you've added a heavy load of fat, often heated in ways that increase insulin resistance over time. A donut isn't just spiking your sugar. It's making it harder for your body to handle sugar at all, meal after meal. And donuts have a lot of cousins. The honey bun, the cinnamon roll, the churro. Same story, different wrapping. While we're at it, let me warn you about liquid sugar. A milkshake, a sweetened smoothie, fruit juice. They hit your blood even faster than solid food because there's no chewing to slow it down. But as bad as all of that is, none of it is the one I'm most concerned about. Number one isn't the dessert you'd expect. It's the one you've been told is safe. The number one dessert to avoid is the sugar-free and diabetic cookies, candies, and cakes. Here's the trap. Many of these are sweetened with maltitol. Maltitol has a glycemic index of 52. Table sugar sits at 62 to 65. So that sugar-free cookie is still raising your blood sugar nearly as much as the real thing. And remember, they are usually built on the same refined flour. The sweetener changed. The foundation didn't. Now, close the loop I opened at the start. That Cleveland Clinic study on erythritol. People with high blood levels of it had double the risk of a heart attack or stroke. Follow-up work suggested it makes platelets, the cells that form clots, more likely to clump together. For someone over 60, that's not a footnote. That's the headline. I promised you honesty, so here it is. I am not telling you every sugar-free product is dangerous. Stevia and monk fruit barely touch your blood sugar. The problem is narrow. Maltitol, which still spikes you, and erythritol, which carries that heart signal. And even there, it's an association, not a closed case. I remember a woman who trusted that label completely. She kept a whole cupboard stocked with diabetic cookies and ate them freely, no guilt. When her numbers didn't cooperate, she was blindsided. It stays with me, seeing someone do everything they believed was right and get misled by the word sugar-free. So, if that's what to avoid, let me pull this all together. If you remember nothing else, remember this. After 60, dessert is not forbidden. It never was. What decides whether a sweet helps you or hurts you comes down to two things: which dessert you choose and when you eat it. Build it around the three breaks: fiber, protein, and healthy fat. Eat it after a meal, not on an empty stomach. Do those two things, and you've taken back most of the control you thought you'd lost. Here is exactly what to do starting tonight. First, build your dessert around one of the 5 I gave you. Pick the one you'll actually enjoy. A habit you like is a habit you keep. Second, never eat something sweet on an empty stomach. Always follow a meal with protein and vegetables. Third, turn the sugar-free label over. Avoid maltitol. If you have heart trouble, be cautious with erythritol. Lean towards stevia or monk fruit. Fourth, decide your portion before you start. Serve it on a plate, not from the container. The container has no bottom. Your willpower does. Fifth, bring one question to your doctor. If you're on a blood thinner, ask about Chia. Or just ask what your blood sugar target is if you want to add a small dessert. It's a fair question. A good doctor will welcome it. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Of the 5 good desserts, which one are you going to try first? Or which of the 3 to avoid surprised you the most? Tell me in the comments. If there is someone in your life who trusts that sugar-free label, send them this video.
It might be the conversation that changes how they eat.
Take good care of yourself. You've earned a dessert that loves you back.